Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on January 18th, 2022 at approximately 2:19 p.m. PST. Well, started off a little rough today, but managed to get everything back on track. And the real critical problem I ran into was something I've been talking to you about a lot. Getting your finances in order, because the finances are the backbone of your house, not the backbone of the home. Rest assured, materialistic is not the way I would describe me at all. But by getting finances working properly, you can make sure you've still got a roof over your head, your bills and your utilities are paid, you've got food in the house. This is extremely important if you intend on surviving in this world. Now, understanding I came back to this world, to this life, to pass on one very simple message, and that is that working together, we can make this a better world for most people. But we're going to have to all put our effort into it. And when I'm talking all, I don't just mean one group of humans. I mean every nationality, every race of humans, and the entire human species altogether. Not to mention any races, as in animals, plants, aliens, you name it. All of us have to work together to make this a better world. Now, it's a very fine, delicate balance. But what humans seem to be doing is they're forgetting they're part of that chain. And if people keep playing with the idea of immediate gratification, of greed, who's got the most stuff, it doesn't work well. Okay, and one of the biggest problems that I run into, I see this quite regularly. Now, do understand, there is no individual more important than the next. In certain fields, absolutely, there are people that are better suited to them, that are more adept. But the fact somebody has a higher skill level in something does not mean they're worth more. Hence, and you'll notice up here, I managed to put the sign up, it fit. That little one would sign up there. 4 most powerful words in any language that I've come across regarding self-esteem and self-motivation. I am worth it. I put that sign up there. I will likely be darkening it this summer if I manage to get it organized. And that really boils down to just deciding I'm doing it and then scheduling it in. But I've got that sign there, and then I've got another one just like it on my fridge. Because the reality is, it helps keep you focused on that idea. Now, I spend a fair amount of time on the finances. Now we go to the organizational side, and like I said, for me, it boils down to this. Feng Shui works really, really well. In Eastern society, the whole culture seems to be built that way from what I gather. Okay, and therefore it likely works better, but the principle is absolutely perfect. Now, I've got my office set up now. It's running quite nicely. Okay, where I'm very, very content with it. By getting that energy working, now I can concentrate on moving the stuff out of the way that I don't require, as in either putting it into recycling. Recycling for me is a secondhand store. People I know require it. They dump, depending on what it is, or the recycling bins. As long as it leaves my house. Or if it's got a place to go, that's fantastic. But if it doesn't have a place to go, it's time to really look at getting rid of it. Okay, at least in my opinion. Now, being a professional pack rat for the massive majority of my life, this is a real big undertaking. Okay, and it's very strongly encouraged that you get rid of the stuff that you don't require. But the other part of this is, if you happen to have a surplus, absolutely share with the people that don't. Okay, now this does not mean dig into your bank account and sell yourself short. Okay, I've got some very definitive goals in mind for me personally, and Karmic Law number 1 does state, be true to yourself first. meaning you've got to make sure you're taking care of you before you take care of other people. The reason for this is because if you extend yourself too far trying to help everybody else, you're going to be the one requiring extra assistance. Okay, so when we're talking about the energy flow, okay, I've got my office now where I can function quite nicely. Okay, don't actually need, is that, nope, that's not there. I actually have, is that is. Okay, these are all books except the blue one here. These are all books that I've personally written, and now that is what I do with my spare time. Everybody's got a hobby of one form or another. My hobby happens to be writing. Okay, yours may be painting. Make time for it and set up a station where you can do it. Okay, now, I don't think you can see it with where I'm sitting. Yeah, you can. Oh, that's why you can't see it very well. Because that's my chair. That's my painting desk over there. Okay. And that's where I do a lot of my painting of the little figures. I was working on a bunch of them today. Right. Yeah, where are we? This one in particular, I only have a couple more things left to do. I've got the inside of his cloak to do, and then he gets moved into the finish pile. Okay, these are the guys that I paint. Now, this one doesn't have a character that he's being used for, but I use these a lot of the time, not just for gaming, but when I'm working on the writing. I pick characters that remind me of them that I can look at and go, okay, that's what this person's doing. If you use miniatures at all in gaming, this becomes really apparent when I'm working out combat scenes in the books I'm writing. Okay, this is why I say everything is connected. You know, people have asked me when do I stop working? Well, in all fairness, I don't really. You know, I work. You know, I do have a regular shift with a regular job, and I do work that shift. But the moment I get off shift, I'm automatically doing something more, which is why I've got so many books on the go at a time that I'm in the process of reading or of writing. I'm only reading two at the same time right now, but I'll read them a few pages out of this one, a few pages out of that one, and carry on. Okay, that's one of those other goals that I've got. Not for this year, but for my lifetime, is to read 100 books. Well, I'm pretty certain I know I've broken the 70. I think I've broken more than that, but I'm not going to check it out right now. But I'm not planning on dying anytime soon anyway. You know, I'm not a fast reader. So I figure if I can get a book a year off, maybe two, then I shouldn't have any problem hitting 100 before I die. Now, when we talk about getting the energy running smoothly, we got to realize the thing that holds most people up is frankly fear, and this is being propagated across the globe. Politicians talk about things to keep people afraid. The medical profession scares the heck out of people. The religious divisions have been scaring people to death. Matter of fact, what they did was they made them afraid to die. Having died multiple times myself, I really don't have that much worry about it. I know what's going to happen when I die. Quite frankly, I know what's going to happen way before that. But the thing is, I do have this issue of not actually desiring to die. But you get the energy running, and as you can see, shelves are starting to be cleared out of the way. If you look at the top, those are all antique shelves, antique books all up there. I think the youngest of the ones in there are like 70 years old. Then I've got a list of books. Most of the books that are listed in my novel, The Birth of the Wolf Pack, most of the books that are listed in that in Casey's office are up on that shelf. And then of course I've got my Tolkien collection. Okay. Then we go down to a shelf I haven't figured out entirely what to do with. The one down here has inventory. Okay, has inventory of the books that I've got in stock. Now, the thing is, you've got to have, everybody requires an income that keeps the roof over their head. It's very important. Okay, so keep that roof, keep a stable income. If you're not content with your current job, do not quit it unless absolutely necessary until you have a replacement. Remember, like many people have this idea that, I work for the person. I've got to stay with them because they've helped me so much. They paid you for your job, for you to do the work. If you've been doing your job properly, frankly, you certainly owe them reasonable notice that you're leaving. But that's the only thing you really owe them. Okay. Now, in my case, I've been working for the same company now for 20 years. I've got no interest in leaving. Are there days where it gets to be, frustrating? Sure. Every company that exists, people have that problem, including the owners that own the company. Okay. But stay with it because you require that income in order to keep a roof over your head. Now, where it comes to fear, okay, and that's where we run into a snag. People are taught from the time they start off to be afraid. As a matter of fact, or at least in my opinion, when the churches came up with this idea of tithing, right, it started, and I'm not talking mainstream churches, I'm talking the belief structures before before the mainstream religions really came into play. Okay, where they talk about there was an old custom when somebody died, you put a couple of coins on their eyes to help pay for the ferryman to get their soul across. Well, here's the thing: when you're dead, the money doesn't matter. Okay, you're going anyway. But it was laid out as in you pay this that way. That way your soul can get to the afterlife. Rest assured, it's going anyway. Now there is a point to tithing. There is a point to it. Okay, way back when people were putting pennies on eyes to get the people across, it helped pay for the coroner to come out and help pay somebody else to come out and bury the person. Well, the reason for burial was not to get the soul to go there. Okay, the reason for the burial was to make sure the wild animals didn't come back to the community. Okay, that's where the burial came in. Didn't always work, but it was a nice start. But where it comes to your finances, okay, do I believe in the concept of tithing, of helping the people that are less fortunate? You bet I do. Which is really funny when you think about the rest of the way I look at the world. But, the idea of tithing, I absolutely agree with. I will not tithe to a standard religion or to a registered charity. Except, as a friend of mine pointed out a little while ago, giving food to the food bank when I've got the money where I can go down and buy a bunch of food and take it down to the food bank and go, here you go. I'm absolutely in favor of that. Because I got thinking about it after I was talking to this friend of mine, that if I buy the food directly, even if people that are working there take it home, somebody's getting food that they require. Okay. Now, hopefully it all goes to the people that are legitimately short on food, but I cannot control that. I can only control what I'm doing. But I've set a definitive amount that I require to run my household. And I'm working with a very simple philosophy. Once I hit that point of what I require, then I start taking 10% of everything over top of that and sorting that out in the way of tithing, in the way of helping those in need. Okay. Now that's my own way of doing it, and understanding the tools I offer here are the same tools I personally use in my own life and the same philosophies I live by. Okay. One of the reasons I don't go to a church itself, I spent my early years in church. Okay. But it came to a really interesting understanding. In church, they are promoting fear. You know, God loves everybody, and, you should, worship him in the whole 9 yards. Problem is, they also talk about him being vengeful. Well, I'll tell you, that's kind of like saying a Wolverine is vengeful. And they can be. I saw a video that really showed that. But animals like ants are not vengeful. Ants simply are, they do what they do. They've got their own goals. Some of them have fascinating stories to tell, but that's a whole different ballgame. When you're looking at your life, and this is a definitive issue for everybody, we all have to take care of yourself first. But when you have a surplus income, okay, when you've got more money available to you than what you require, or more food available. Now, where it comes to food, okay, understand. I'm a firm believer, build yourself a 3 to 6 month backlog of food, of non-perishable, easy to open food that does not require a, electricity to run. Okay, that is edible right out of the can. And the reason for that is because if you run into a problem with your finances, or worse, if there's a major power outage that you run into a problem with, having food, having drink that is non-perishable is extremely useful. Okay, and this is just standard common sense in my eyes. I've lived on the edge of poverty most of my life. So when we talk about having, food and water, food and drink, okay, the drink now I am not a nutritionist, but this is what I put in my own store, in my own supply. Drinks that are really good because they keep forever and a day are things like, they may not be the best nutritionally, and do understand. Do your own research. I am not a nutritionist by any functional stretch. But some of the stuff that I keep in stock is apple juice. I probably should bring water in just in case. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make a note of that because I've got to place an order anyway to get food and what have you in here. So I'm just going to write that down. Not because I'm likely to use it anytime soon, but once it's sealed, at least it's liquid. Okay. But, your Gatorade, that type of energy, not of energy drink, but of electrolytic balancing drink. Okay. Water, apple juice, any of your clear juices are really good. Okay. If they're already sealed, if they're, like, for instance, in some juices, you get a juice box, like a liter box, right? It's already sealed. It won't do anything after it gets there. Okay. And then you get things like your tuna, your beans, this sort of thing. But make sure that you have a way, as in a can opener of some form. Should have brought it out. There's one I personally like. It's an old military can opener. There's no moving parts. There's no electricity required. But I certainly keep one handy. Because I'm not having a problem with the way the world is right now as far as my food goes. But I just burnt out another can opener. So I'm done. Electric can openers, I just won't bother with anymore. Okay. I am trying to figure out if there's one that is non-mechanical and only requires one hand, which I really don't think that exists at this point. But I've got an idea how to compensate for it. But take care of your house. Get the energy laid out properly to make certain that everything is running smoothly for you. As you do that, you'll find your stress level drops, your energy level climbs, and overall your health gets better. But we've got to get away from this idea of fearing what comes next. Okay, if society continues on the path it's on, focusing on greed, instant gratification, and fear of loss of everything, okay, we're going to go down the same road that people went down in ancient Rome, in the Middle Ages, Okay. It's an absolute nightmare when society lets fear dominate how it thinks. Okay. We've got to get used to the idea of communication will unify the planet. This is providing you follow the 3 karmic laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay, now if you compare those 3 laws to any laws that you're following, whether they're a support group, a religious group, a political group, or just societal law, okay, I do believe you'll find that all of the laws that you're following fit inside those 3. Those are the only 3 I follow. Okay, but it does take the effort of everybody involved. And remember, where it comes to communication failure. Now, I've been working in the consulting field for, 48 years now. And the one thing I found with communication failure, okay, whether we're talking friendship, relationship, just strangers, business, it doesn't matter. It's invariably a 50-50 problem. Either one person isn't saying it effectively, or the other person isn't hearing it clearly. In either event, and usually it's a combination of the 2, in either event, it's a joint problem. But it is something that communication can solve. Okay, and it's time people look in the mirror and take responsibility for their own actions. Today started off really rough for me. So I just about didn't do the video today because I was pretty beside myself. Things hadn't come together properly, and it threw me for a bit of a loop. Thankfully, I got it done, and I got it sorted around just in time. Now, the neat part about it for me is I'm getting this video done right before I actually have to go on shift. Okay, but I will have it done and thereby posted in time to get on shift. Okay. And I've got a couple of other videos, a couple other posts I've got to do today, but I can do those while I'm working. Take a look at the way your life is sitting. Are you content with it as is? If the answer is yes, great, stay on it. Okay, as I've mentioned before, I'm not happy with my weight, which means I'm going to continue working to drop it. But I'm very happy with the path it's taking. Okay, and that means I am dropping the weight on a regular basis, and I will continue down that path until I hit my goal. But you gotta remember, simply put, eat balanced, absolutely. But if you're burning off more calories than what you're putting in, you'll drop the weight. It's just that easy. Now, when I talk about it easy, it will take focus, it will take effort on your part. But success at all, it literally boils down to a simple formula. Success equals belief plus focused effort. Okay, meaning you have to believe that you can accomplish it. And you've got to put the effort into it to make it work. Okay, this is just a critical issue for you. It's a critical issue for everybody. Okay, because the only person in existence, the only entity in existence that can be successful for you is you. Now, I absolutely encourage you to maintain your social connections. If that's done through a church, a temple, a coven, a support group, a family, okay, or as in my case, a gaming crew, as in people that play Dungeons and Dragons. Old style tabletop version. Okay, whatever your group, stay with it. Okay, that's where you get the emotional support that you require to get through the day. And even as the stress levels drop, you'll find it becomes more and more necessary to follow that path. Because we are living in a time of, quite frankly, chaos right now. But this is a period of time that will come to an end. Thankfully, if you're lucky, you don't recall the actual events of the Black Plague. The Black Death, the bubonic plague, whatever you want to call it. I do. I remember many of my past lives. And the thing with the bubonic plague was what you read about doesn't even begin to touch the social impacts. What we're going through today is mild comparatively. Okay, because when the Black Death came through, we only had the people in our community, and most of them were dying. Okay, today you can reach out to the other side of the world. And this is why I don't have a problem with technology itself. Some of it is absolutely fantastic. Frankly, I couldn't be doing this if it weren't for the modern technology. But the reason I bill myself as a spiritual guide is because the tools I offer you are the same tools I personally use. If you're following somebody that is telling you that they are here to lead you to a better world, and they're telling you, oh, we've got an encampment out in the middle of nowhere, behind fences, and we got lots of guns to protect ourselves. Now, having guns is necessary if the world goes to pot. Absolutely it is. And I've got nothing against guns. I've yet to see a gun do anything wrong without the assistance of a person. Okay. Or in one case, I saw it do something wrong with the assistance of a monkey. But that was hilarious. Actually, it wasn't a monkey, it was an ape. Chimpanzee, to be exact. Okay. I mean, I just thought of this, but there was a video I saw a while ago of Somalian pirates. And I'm not picking on them, it's just that's what they were. Okay. But at least that's what was posted as. These guys were sitting in an encampment, and there was a chimpanzee that wandered into camp. So, one of these guys started miming. He'd show the chimp the gun. He'd show the chimp the trigger, and then he'd point it around, and he'd shake it, mimicking the action that takes place. Now, the chimp stood down. The chimp doesn't understand anything about what a gun is. But this guy showed him this, and it went on for a while. I think it was probably a 5-minute video, maybe 10. But the long and the short of it was he turned around and handed the gun to the chimp. Well, the chimp looked at it for a little bit, and he felt around with it and figured out where the trigger was. Then he pointed at the people and pulled the trigger. Now, this falls under Darwin's idea of evolution. Okay, you gotta question the intelligence of handing a chimp a gun and showing him how it works. Okay, there are things you don't do, but humans are taught for immediate gratification. Let's see how this works. I like the one shirt I saw the other day. It says, I'm sure it's going to say on my t-shirt, or my gravestone when I die. Well, that didn't work. May well be what's on mine, but that being said, I'm going to bring this to a close. I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.